This has massive implications for the Baltimore Ravens as training camp is finally here and we are getting real answers about the 26-27 season. And after months of offseason moves, we are now starting to see how the offense will look under Declan Doyle, how the defense will prepare itself with Jesse Minter and Anthony Weaver's new philosophy, and which young players for the Baltimore Ravens will separate themselves and begin to join a higher ranking on the depth chart going into training camp. As we know, the Baltimore Ravens are going into 26-27 with pretty big Super Bowl expectations, but there are still major questions that the Ravens need to answer. The biggest one is who is going to get targets other than Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman in the wide receiver room. When will Nnamdi Madubuike be healthy and ready to return to action for the Baltimore Ravens? How quickly will Lamar Jackson adjust to the newer offense involving Declan Doyle and that new offensive philosophy that is coming over from Chicago? And who is winning the starting job regarding Ethan Pochich, Jovan Gwynn, and a bunch of other players within the offensive line room? But before we get into today's video, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. It is completely free. We are just 50 subscribers away from hitting our goal of 1,000 subscribers. It is completely free, no cost at all. And we are providing daily Ravens videos, updates, rumors, analysis, and all things Baltimore Ravens every single day. You guys are not going to want to miss out on the content that we are providing every single day. But before we get into the football side, there are some very important details regarding what Ravens fans should know regarding training camp. The training camp practices are officially beginning to become underway, and Baltimore will host 12 open practices at the Under Armour Performance Center in Owings Mills. There will be around 2,000 fans being allowed per practice, and the demand has been pretty high so far as there's a wait list for fans and the open practice passes have sold out. But one of the biggest camp moments will happen in Owings Mills on August 1st at University of Maryland at 11 a.m. practice at CQ Stadium, and it is the first NFL practice held in this stadium, and it is also one of the fewer events in where there will be a fan engagement event at PGC at Prince George's County. But also, the Baltimore Ravens are very excited and prepared to bring that element of practice when it comes to the return of joint practices. And the Vikings will be the first opponent for the Baltimore Ravens during the joint practice on August 19th and August 20th. And then they will be facing off against the Commanders on the 26th of August. Joint practices, as we know, are a very huge factor for the Baltimore Ravens to prepare and get live scrimmage reps. And joint practices will be very important due to the starters getting their heaviest workload against another team before preseason starts. And we will be able to see what needs to be built upon going into these preseason games. But obviously, the biggest storylines aren't just with the Ravens and where they are practicing. It is about the biggest battles that are happening on the field. And there are several matchups that I am very excited for going into training camp and going into minicamp. The first of these many matchups that I'm very excited to see is the emergence of Trey Hendrickson, and Trey Hendrickson to have the ability to face off with one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL with Ronnie Stanley. As we know, Trey Hendrickson was the biggest addition for the Baltimore Ravens this offseason, and he's competed at the very high level with the Cincinnati Bengals in previous years. And he was one of the core additions falling from the Max Crosby pickup, or should have been pickup, but he led the NFL with 17.5 sacks in 2024 when he was able to produce. And him and Mike Green should have a high ability to be able to create pass rush opportunities for the Baltimore Ravens. But when we look at the offensive line room of who he will be going against throughout minicamp and training camp with Ronnie Stanley is entering his 11th NFL year, and he is the longest tenured player for the Baltimore Ravens. And this is still one of the biggest tests for him going into this upcoming season, as he has a very important matchup of Hendrickson being able to test himself within elite pass protection that Ronnie Stanley provides. And Stanley gets the chance to go against one of the best edge rushers in the entire NFL and get live scrimmage opportunities for Trey Hendrickson's first early reps as a Baltimore Raven. Now, when you look at another addition who came in this offseason within the safety room, look no other than Jaylon Hawkins. Jaylon Hawkins was a newer addition to be a part of the safety group that includes Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks. And as we know, one-on-one drills between DBs and receivers are some of the most important parts of camp. And this is something I'm very excited to see going into this upcoming season and going into mini and training camp to see which receivers for the Baltimore Ravens can have an impact, whether it is the Jacoby Lanes, whether it is the Elijah Surratts, who will be able to have elite separation and improve themselves within getting work against the live players such as the Kyle Hamiltons and the Malachi Starks. This is very important for Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt to have the ability to learn and become a very consistent wide receiver, and it is very important within this wide receiver room due to them being able to play with Zay Flowers and have a key contributor such as that to play a leader in knowing and giving that live scrimmage feel. But another matchup that I am very excited about going into that wide receiver room, specifically as we talk more about Jacoby Lane as a whole. Jacoby Lane is one of the bigger young players to watch going into this upcoming minicamp and training camp. He is competing for an opportunity in this wide receiver room and is fighting for reps against other players. And the other young players that are competing include Elijah Surratt, Devontae Walker, LaJohntay Wester. But the cornerback that I am looking for him to have an impact and get live reps against is Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins is a former first-round pick entering his third season into the NFL, and he is looking to keep contributing as a major piece for the Baltimore Ravens secondary. And this matchup really matters due to Lane trying to prove he belongs in the league, and no other better player to go against than Nate Wiggins on press situations and in zone situations, and Wiggins is trying to become a key contributor for the Baltimore Ravens defense, and these reps could take Nate Wiggins to the next step going into another year of productive NFL work. But when you look at the offensive line room and you look within more about the situational matchups between where the Baltimore Ravens will be able to have live OL and D-line reps, the matchup between rookie signing out of Penn State, Vega Iona, is very intriguing for the Baltimore Ravens, and Vega Iona has the position to fight for a starting guard spot on that offensive line. And this means preparing him to protect Lamar Jackson and create rushing opportunities for Derrick Henry on a high-level basis. Of him going against a member of the defensive line room, Travis Jones is a great player for him to get reps against, as it gives Iona an early test of his NFL strength and his power as a player. And Iona really needs to develop his technique and consistency very quickly if he's going to start on that offensive line and need to protect for Lamar Jackson on a play-to-play basis. These matchups to me are very exciting going into this upcoming season, but as we talk about the Baltimore Ravens and players that we are just excited to see get back out on the field and have a huge impact going into this upcoming season, it all starts with our MVP, Lamar Jackson. As we know, he is entering camp healthy and is pretty excited about Declan Doyle's newer offensive scheme. This focus is not focused on just us making the Super Bowl as a whole and MVP conversations. We are trying to make that elite push towards the playoffs while Lamar Jackson continues to build his chemistry within his new receivers and improve on the little details that allow him to have these MVP seasons. And look no further than training camp for Lamar Jackson to get comfortable within this new system that Declan Doyle is trying to improve upon. But when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, as we know, one of the shocking and the toughest situations last year was the loss of Justin Madubuike and Madubuike going down. But Madubuike coming into 2026, we are very excited, hoping that he could come back and be a key contributor in terms of being a storyline heading into camp. He was started on the activated list, and he is recovering from a season-ending neck injury that required him to have neck and spinal surgery. And this is a very positive sign as his return appears to trend in the right direction. This matters a lot due to him being a two-time Pro Bowler, as we know, and he commands attention from opposing offenses on a play-to-play basis. And the Baltimore Ravens are very excited and hoping to have their cornerstone of the defensive line group back out there and healthy. But when we talk about the defensive line group and the newer additions, look no further than another addition on the D-line of Zion Young, one of the Baltimore Ravens' high-level ticks who could have a very high impact season as he has the opportunity to have his first padded practices, his first joint practices. If he can have a huge impact, I believe Zion Young will be another weapon for the Baltimore Ravens pass rush, and he improves the defense's ability to stop the run. Another player, when we look on the focus of the offensive line group that we are excited for to have back and hoping that he can contribute going into his ninth season, look no further than Mark Andrews. He is the Baltimore Ravens all-time leader in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdown catches. And with Isaiah Likely and Colaire gone, it looks like Mark Andrews is the questionable and unquestionable leader of the tight end room. while his role is still to produce for the Baltimore Ravens, we're hoping he can have a productive season and set the standard for the younger guys within this group. Now, last but not least, when you talk about a last player that I believe will have a huge impact within the new system that Anthony Weaver is trying to bring in and the leadership needed for the Baltimore Ravens to have a successful season is Roquan Smith. And I believe that Roquan Smith should be one of the biggest leaders on this defense and has always been described as a coach on the field. His responsibilities as a defensive player are to communicate with his teammates, as he's an NFL veteran. Even during his time in Chicago, he was known to be very vocal, and he sets a very intense level for the Baltimore Ravens. And his leadership will be very important going into this upcoming season as we look to install that new defensive system and bring something new and intricate for Anthony Weaver going into 26-27. But beyond these individual players, the biggest questions, as we know, will involve who will step up at the wide receiver position, who will win the starting job, and who will stay healthy. But I want to hear from you guys. What are you watching closest during this Ravens training camp? Are you looking forward to Lamar Jackson and Declan Doyle's offense? Are you looking forward to the receiver competition? Or are you looking for the center battle and the younger players that are trying to get starting roles? I am very excited for these training camp matchups. I believe that a lot of training camp matchups for the Baltimore Ravens will give a lot of live rep opportunities to see who will develop and be key contributors for the Baltimore Ravens. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment down below your thoughts, like the video, subscribe to Ravens Digest. It is completely free, and make sure you turn on those post notifications. But until then, we will see you on the next episode of Ravens Flock. Until then, Ravens Flock always.